Hey guys, how you going? Now, firstly, I'd like to say that I did watch back over my previous video, and I gotta say, I was doing a lot of pausing between saying stuff. I was umming and ahhing a lot, and to be honest, when I watched it back, I thought to myself, why would anyone want to watch this? It was frustrating me. So, yeah, no wonder very few people actually watch it. So, I've decided to actually sort of just try and vaguely plan out my videos before I actually take them instead of just at the drop of a hat, yep, I'm going to do a video. So I've written down everything that I need to touch down on. I'm still going to, it's still sort of improv, but it's slightly organized. So let's see if this works better. Now, this video is going to cover, I noticed that after playing my new game here, I've just started it, and I have progressed a little bit. I think I'm on wizard level 15 or something like that. Yeah, 15. I noticed that there was a hurdle that I came across. There's this field here which I still haven't done, and ignoring these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fields here, I had this field that was incompleted for a while, and I was wondering, geez, why can't I pass this? So I thought maybe some people might fall into the same trap as I did then, and to be honest, I fell into the same trap when I played this the first time, and also another time when I played it second time around a few months ago. It's exactly the same. It was just a stupid way of thinking, silly tactics that they sort of trapped me. So I'm going to explain how to get over this first hurdle, which I think is pretty common. And I'm also going to take advantage of this video to also discuss monster types. I haven't discussed that in any of my previous videos, so here we go. Now, basically from the start, what you do is you start meandering through all of the fields and so forth, and you'll find that in this game, as you go meandering throughout the whole map, you know, discovering new fields to do and so forth, you'll find that a lot of the fields will eventually sort of loop around to back to where you've been, or essentially go to dead ends like this one here, I-13, and this one here, G10. They amount to dead ends, and that's all fine and well. It's actually pretty good to play most of the fields, especially early on, if you want that extra experience to get your wizard level up and get more skills and so forth to help you progress. Earlier on in the levels, it's a good idea to try and complete as many as you can. However, there was a choke point. I found that the only way to progress further in the game was to complete field E12. Now, I was trying and trying and trying again and again for a while. I think it was about 6 or 7 goes I had, and all of them were failed. What I would do is I would go for 50% more amount of monsters, 50% more monster hit points. I would do random waves because Swarm only requires special tactics, and to be honest, I couldn't be bothered with them, so I took the smaller experience. It's only a small amount. I did random waves, 15, and if I was feeling brave, I'd go for higher monster armor because that really bumps up the multiplier. Now I'd go ahead, play this, yeah, check all of my skills, they're all up, no problems. And then what I would do is I would just, you know, set it up, get it ready, make it so, whoops, make it so monsters can only come through here. Let's maybe do that. Chuck a gem in there. And away I go. But I won't bother playing through this level. I can tell you right now, it was a wizard level 15, which is where I was at when I got to this level. I found that it wasn't enough. I didn't have enough to get me through this. Now, I was trying, since it's random waves, I was trying constantly, you know, alright, I'll retry my luck, see if I can get some better wave compositions where maybe I wouldn't see swarms for a long time, because swarm, they really do, they just throw a spanner in the works for me at this sort of stage in the game. And they tend to stuff you up, because instead of being able to just power up one gem, what you have to do is you have to have a few smaller gems, smaller grades, and spread them out a little bit so you can kill as many swarm monsters as you need before you get overwhelmed, and before you know it, it's over. I can tell you right now, I just couldn't do it. So I started to think, well, what am I doing wrong? Now, I could have gone back and replayed over some of these earlier levels just to get a little bit more experience. Maybe I could have gone up 1 or 2 more wizard levels, and that's fine. That's a valid thing to do. It puts you in a better standing to pass levels. However, I found that there was a much simpler solution to the problem, which was always under my nose. And, I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this video would probably think, well, you're an idiot for thinking that way. Why didn't you think that way? However, I have a feeling a few people probably do fall into the same line of thinking as what I was before I realized, hey, what am I doing wrong? Now, what am I talking about? Well, for starters, whenever you play a field, you don't have to jack up all the settings and get a massive XP multiplier. At the end of the day, all you need to do is pass the level, and more levels will arise. When you pass this one crops up, and this one's different, and it's a little bit easier. It's different, but it's easier. I actually played that as a swarm level, and hey presto, I actually won. And it was fairly easy, and then that will unlock this one, and so on and so forth. So to progress throughout the map and give you more options for getting experience, you don't have to play you don't have to think, oh, I've got to get a good score, or just click these in a certain pattern that you've been clicking for a while without thinking. There is no problems just going for the very basic 1 times multiplier. Sure, you'll get a low score for it this time around, but at least you'll pass the level and you will unlock more to play. And, I did that. Look at that. The next level I got almost 1400. This level I got 708. It's crappy. I didn't really go up any level at all, but I passed it, and I can always go back to it later when I'm in much better footing and give it another go for a much higher score. So don't trap yourself like I did, okay? Now let's see what else. Lord battle settings. Trying highest score is not necessary. Just reading through my list of things to touch on. Design your setup based on starting gem colors. That's an important one. In the early stages of the game, you start any of the levels and you will be given a couple of predefined gem colors. So what you should do, I recommend, is that you try and plan. Here, I'll go back actually. Explain this a little bit better. When you hover over a field, you can see this particular one, you have slow and chain hit, which is blue and lime. Now, when I click into that, you can see a better view of what the map looks like here before even going into the game. So you can sort of plan out, oh, okay, so I'm guessing one of these will be my wizard tower. Considering level design can sometimes be a bit predictable, I'd say maybe it's the center one. And all of these might be walls or something. Either way, I think they're not passable for monsters. So, and we've got a entry point down here. We've got an entry point over there. So, maybe I'm feeling confident. Maybe I can give myself a little bit more monsters, a little bit more hit points. I'll random the waves because, let's be honest, other than original, it's kind of the same as original waves. Honestly, this original waves it's almost pointless, to be honest. Just go random waves once you get the option. I actually find there's no point in sticking with original waves. Just get that extra multiplier. This is a big deciding factor, actually. How many more waves do you want? Now, I found an interesting thing was if you play on normal and click higher monster armor, you get a very big multiplier. But if you take off higher monster armor and you go for much more waves, 15 more waves, which will make them a lot tougher down in the lower waves than the later waves for the game in this setting. Look at that, 1.6, 1.76. If you want a high multiplier, go for something like that or that. if you can't do that. Try and use this whenever you can. Might not work so well on swarm levels for reasons that I might go into another time. But yeah, I definitely recommend doing that. Now, going back here, like I said, for every level, you've got 2 gems that you can start with. Sure, you can unlock other colors, but that's an expensive option that I do not recommend doing until much later in the game, when you've got much more mana to start with and you can do so in a viable way. So I've got lime. Okay, chain hit. So chain hit works well with, okay, always going to random. I could probably handle a lot more monsters. Monster hit points, yeah, keep it low or whatnot, etc., so on and so forth. You try and, if you can't go for the maximum and win after a couple of times, dial it back a little bit and use those starting gem colors to help you decide how you're going to attack this battle. Same thing with the skills. Whenever you see, I'll tell you right now, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, these cover the 8 gem colors where you are allowed to, you know, level up the skills of them and so forth to make them just more powerful and that. If you do have a level which has gems of the color where you can actually modify the skill points for, there will be a little sort of dot in the top left corner of the what would you call this, this rectangle, this skill, and it'd be the same color as this very light yellow. So look for that. That will say, hey, this color gem is actually available at the start in this particular level. So when you see that, I encourage you to jack it right up if you're going to be using that color a lot. Good colors for that are red and green and lime and yellow and orange. As for the others, well, personally I don't find much use for them, but if you do, by all means, take note of that. So you have to sort of plan out your battles sometimes, because sometimes levels, they were designed to be really hard, and that one I found was a particularly difficult little hurdle, an unexpected hurdle, this one. So, field E12, look out for it, and don't be shy to just pass it. Now, I'm also going to talk about monster types. There are, as far as I can recall correctly, 5 different types. Let's just check everything on. Actually, let's not do that level. Let's do the beginning level, why not? Let's see, amount of monsters, more monsters, normal hit points, random, give me lots of waves. That looks easy enough. Ah, poison. Why not? Get rid of that, jack that up a bit. Okay, now, there are, as far as we can tell, 5 monster types, and I think I've got all of them right here at the start. Okay, so looking at the left side here, these are wave stones. These are, it's pretty obviously numbered, wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5, and as you go throughout the game, these will slowly move up, and if a wave hits the very top just under the pause button, that means it will disappear and that wave will actually start to come out from the sides of the map. Now, normal monsters are just that. They are normal. They have generally very low to no armor at all. They have an average amount of hit points, and they have an average amount of speed. They are just average across the board except for armor. They're low on armor. And they are denoted by a wave stone that has no symbols on the top. It's nice and plain. And whenever you do random, I think it's the first 5 waves or 6 waves, maybe. I'm pretty sure it's just the first 5 waves are always normal monsters. Always. After that, every wave from there on in is completely randomized, and if you don't like what you see with the wave composition, you can actually just go to options, restart the battle, and there you go, they're all different again. Let's see, have we got one of each? No, so maybe I shouldn't have done that. Let's see. Let's hope I get lucky this time. Lucky enough. Okay, so that's normal. These particular wave stones, nice and plain, that means it is a normal monster. And if you hover over the wave stone, it'll tell you, yep, it's wave 1 of 23. It's got 24 monsters on this wave stone, which you can actually change by gem bombing, but that's something for another time. It tells you the hit points of each monster, armor level, and the speed. Now, speed and also gem firing speed and all of that, they're a particular number. I don't quite know how to explain it. Let's just say they're average. So I'm just going to talk in subjective terms when talking about the speed and so forth like that in relation to other monsters, because that just makes more sense. And also, the normal monsters, when they show up on the screen, they're a normal size. They're a normal monster. It's very average monsters, fairly easy to destroy. Now this, when you look at wave 8 down here, I'm hoping you're watching this video in HD or 720 or at least 480p, because if you're not, then it might be a little bit hard to make out what it is I'm trying to circle down here with the mouse. Level or wave 8, this is a wave of swarm monsters, because how do I know that? Well, that's because there are 3 little dots at the top of the wave stone. That means it's a swarm level. Swarm monsters or swarm waves have many more monsters than normal waves. Normal waves, look at that, 21, 24, 23, 20, 21, 24, 20. That wasn't 28. That was originally 23 or 24 or something. That's just gone up because I gem bombed it. But the swarm monsters, yeah, you usually get about, on average, 3 to 4 times as many. And they come up on the map as much smaller versions of monsters that you normally see. Much smaller. They have a very small amount of hit points compared to normal monsters. They usually have little to no armor, very comparable to normal monsters, sometimes less, to be honest, actually, as you go further down the track of more waves. You'll find normal monsters have more armor than swarm monsters, probably. But one of the big differences is the speed. They are the fastest moving monster. They move very fast. That's how they are. Swarms are difficult to deal with if you're not prepared for them, and they also come out fairly close to each other. Like, you have a counter up here in the top left showing you how many monsters are on the map and how many monsters are still to come out of the map from the current wave that is being sent, or current waves. Sometimes there's more than one, and it just adds on to the total. It's the number of monsters waiting in the wings to get out, and that number usually lowers very quickly when there's swarms. So it's like pew, 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 pew. Lots of monsters coming out, and they just overwhelm your map if you're not prepared for it. So that's swarm monsters. Next we have armored monsters. Armored monsters are exactly what they sound like. Now I think their numbers are again the same sorts of numbers as normal monsters. A wave of armored monsters has, yeah, like I said, about the same amount of numbers per wave. The hit points are usually more, usually something along the lines of almost double. But the big difference is the armor level. The armor level they have is a lot higher. That makes them a lot more difficult to kill, especially if you don't have higher grade gems. If you're working on low grade gems, because they deal such small amounts of damage, they aren't really going to kill armored monsters. You really do need much higher grade gems just to start punching them down. Or you could use armor tear, but that's a discussion for another time. Purple gem, yuck, I don't like it. That's armored monsters. Oh, and also they move much slower. They much slower than, oh, what are they called? The normal wave monsters. They move at about half the pace of normal monsters, maybe a tiny bit slower still, and they are the second slowest monsters in the game. Now, the fourth monster. Oh, I didn't I don't think I discussed the size. The size of armored monsters, the picture itself, about the same size as normal monsters, to be honest. They're not very distinguishable, other than the fact that they just move a lot slower. You can tell what they are by that feature. Runner monsters, they are pictured same size as the armored and the normal monsters. They have lower hit points compared to the normal monsters, but higher compared to the swarms. Think of these guys as essentially slower but more stronger versions of swarms, but they don't come in numbers of swarms. In other words, they just come in normal numbers, like the normal I'm getting mixed up. The normal monster waves and the armored monster waves is around at the start it's looking like around the early to mid 20s. Same story with the runner monsters. What they do is they run along a lot faster than normal waves, and to be honest, they're usually generally quite easy to kill. They have little to no armor whatsoever. They have a small amount of hit points. They just move a little bit fast. They kind of hop around. They skip around, and they're not really much to deal with. But there is one other monster type. Here it is. And this is the one that you need to watch out for. And to be honest, if you want really high scores, you should actually focus on trying to kill as many of these as you can without accidentally overwhelming yourself. These are giant monsters. They come in incredibly low numbers. Oh, by the way, I think I forgot to tell you, with the armored monsters, the wavestone, there's an arrow sort of shape facing down at the top of the wavestone. And with the runner monsters, there's an arrow facing sort of to the right, or towards the rest of the playing field. The giant monsters, the wavestone picture is kind of like a it's kind of like a fat bat or something like that. It's pretty distinguishable. It's just a big, so I don't know. You can see for yourself. That's the picture, and that's how you know that it is a giant wavestone. They come in small numbers. The picture itself is actually quite large. It's about almost twice the size of a normal picture, and they're very big and cumbersome. They take up a lot of space on the screen, so they're very hard to miss. You won't miss them, and they move incredibly slow, really slow, slower than armored monsters. They take forever to get places, and it's just as well because it takes a lot to kill them. They usually have an armor level comparable to armored monsters almost. It actually depends on how many giant monsters you get in the wave. I do believe there is about 4 or 5 different amounts of giant monsters you can get. You can get 1 giant monster in a wavestone, or you can get up to 6 or 5 different giant monsters in a wavestone, and anywhere in between. Now basically what the game does is it tries to compensate. It says, okay, this wavestone has 1 giant monster. It has a lot of hit points and a lot of armor. However, if you get a wavestone like this where it's got 3 giant monsters, it's not like it's got a certain amount of hit points to spread out over all of the giant monsters in a wavestone. Like, say, for instance, in this particular case, it's not like it said, oh, okay, this wavestone's going to have giant monsters with an armor level of maximum of 18 or something like that, and hit points of 1060, and it's decided, okay, by random chance we're going to make it 3 giant monsters, so let's split it equally into 3. It doesn't quite work like that. If this particular wave had 1 giant monster, I do suspect that the overall hit points and armor level would be a little bit less than that. It wouldn't be 1260 hit points. It'd be something like 1000 or 1100, something around there. So it's kind of not that easy to calculate roughly or how hard each giant monster is going to be when you're on a giant wavestone. But basically, whenever you get giant monsters, personally, I pray for one is bad because one giant monster is it's really hard to kill. I pray for the highest number, 6 giant monsters. If this was 6 giant monsters, they'd all have about 260 hit points and an armor level of 4 or something like that. They'd be really easy to kill. And you get quite a lot of experience points from them. However, there is a sort of a splitting of the amount of experience points giant monsters can give as well. You could have 6 giant monsters, but each of them would only give a little bit of experience, whereas if you had a wavestone with 1 giant monster and you killed that giant monster, that monster would give you a lot of experience points. And a lot of mana, actually, as well. There's another reason to kill a lot of giant monsters. It gives you the most amount of armor for a kill, and that really helps you out in the game. So, by all means, take giant monsters very seriously. Now let's see, I talked about the hit points, the armor level, and the speed. Yep, like I said, they are really slow, they're really easy to see. Honestly, they just overshadow every other monster on the map. So, that is all of the monsters in a nutshell. And next video, I think what I'll do is, for the moment, I'll keep playing through my new game, and I'll see if I can come up with a new hurdle, or maybe try and go for the first special amulet, whatever they were called. I forget what they are. They're red. I think there's one available on. Let me go back to the map. Here, G10. Challenge amulet, that's the one. Reach 100 waves beaten on field G10. Okay, I can't do that unless I have the premium edition, I believe. Yeah, I can't do that because this. Let's see. Yeah, it's only got 12 waves, and if you don't have the premium edition, you can only add 15 more, so that's 27 waves. Can't do it without endurance. Well, okay. I'm probably not going to make a video about that. Probably make a video about this one. Kill at least 7,000 monsters in one battle on field C11. That, I'm fairly certain we can do if we maximize the number of waves, and also we'd have to do Swarm, because Swarm, as I said previously, they give more monsters per wave, something like in the order of between 3 and 4 times the number of monsters you get on pretty much any other one other than the giants. And we would have to gem bomb the waves quite a lot. I'll discuss gem bombing waves, and we'll see how it affects them, how it could be good, how it could be bad, and also probably a couple of other things. I might even do a video on swarm levels next video. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. I hope this video was a lot easier to pay attention to than the last one. By all means, comment. I like comments. I reply to comments. Give me comments, okay? And also any suggestions on videos or questions, anything. I know this game pretty much backwards, so yeah. Any questions, don't hesitate. Just ask me. Comment, rate, subscribe, all of that stuff. Peace out. I'm done. Catch you later.